In this video, we're looking at the shape of a distribution. So a statistical distribution is the way the scores of a data set are arranged. So we can see this especially when they're graphed. So we have what we call a symmetrical distribution, and this is a distribution that is evenly spread around the center, right, the middle. Now you can tell you have a symmetrical distribution because if you draw a line going up and then over, it looks about symmetrical. It's symmetrical around that middle point. And the same thing for this stem and leaf plot. It seems to start to go up and then it goes down. It's fairly symmetrical around that point there, right? So when you draw a line, it's very smooth and curved. That's a symmetrical distribution. Now we can have what we call skewed distributions, and this is where most of the data is at one end and the other kind of tails off into a lot smaller and smaller data points. All right, so you have two different types. You have what we call a positively skewed, where the bulk of the data here is at the left, and the tail, right? So this here is the tail. The tail, I would say, is pointed towards the positive numbers, therefore it's positively skewed, all right? It's where the tail's pointing. So again, positively skewed has a bulk of data at one end, and the tail is going off towards the larger positive numbers. Next thing we have is a negatively skewed, and it has the tail here, goes up and then down. So its tail is pointing towards the negative numbers, all right, the smaller numbers. So it would be a negatively skewed data set. So it's just important to know with those two types, the tails point to where they are. So if the tail's pointing towards a positive direction, it's positively skewed. If the tail's pointing to negative numbers, it's negatively skewed. Now we also have what we call bimodal distributions, and this is a distribution that has two peaks. So bi means two, so two peaks. So we come up, then we go down, and then you notice we come up again. They don't have to be equal height, they can be a little bit lower, but they do have clearly two peaks here. Alright, so there's two peaks. Alright, and that's bimodal. Whereas if you go back up to symmetrical, notice how they have only one peak. Here, and then again over here we have one peak. All right, and that's all there is to these distributions. You have symmetrical, which is even across the board, evenly spread. You have skewed distributions, which you can have a positive or negative, and it depends where the tail's pointing. And then finally, you have what we call bimodal distribution, where it has two peaks.